Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to this special New Year's Eve launch of an Indian space something ISRO. What does ISRO stand for? I looked. Indian Space Research Organization. They're launching a satellite tonight. It's actually the first. So this is the first launch of 2024. This is the PSLV-DL rocket. And it's launching from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in India. This is the PSLV C-58 mission, and it's launching today in India, which is January 1st, 2024. So, of course, it's launching in the future. The orbital launch calendar is set to begin just a few hours into 2024 in UTC time, which is 3:40 UTC, which turns out to be about 10:40 p.m. Eastern, so about 20 minutes from now. This rocket will lift off from India. This is a 4-stage polar satellite launch vehicle with 2 solid rocket boosters, abbreviated to PSLV-DL. It will launch 2 spacecrafts on board. The first one will be the X-ray Polarimeter Satellite XPoSat, and the PSLV Orbital Experimental Module-3, or POEM-3. This mission is designated PSLV C-58. This will be the 60th launch. 60 launches for the PSLV rocket and the 4th of the PSLV-DL variant. This is a really interesting rocket. Maybe I'll get a PSLV-DL rocket. Let's get a picture of it. So this is classified as a medium lift rocket. It's different, that's for sure. So let's share a little bit here. So this is the PSLV rocket. So you essentially have a 2-stage rocket. You have these kick boosters or short boosters, and then you have 4 normal solid rocket boosters. So really quite a bit of complexity to a rocket of this type. It's been relatively successful as far as rocketry goes, and it's just an interesting launch vehicle. So we'll go over to the Indian government, or the Indian Space Research Organization, or Department of Space for India. So this is the XL core configuration. So it's a little bit different, but same general idea of the rocket. So we have a fairing. And the overall height is 44.4 meters with a gross weight of 320 tons. Again, this is a 4-stage vehicle with multiple launch capacity and a diameter of 2.8 meters. Here's the variants: PSLV, CA, DL, QL, and XL. So the first flight was September 20th, 1993. So this is kind of what we have. Here's your main stage. First stage of the PSLV provides the highest thrust that's required for liftoff. It uses the S-139 solid rocket booster that contains 139 tons of HTPV. And again, we have these strap-on boosters. PSLV XL uses 6 extended strap-ons of 12 tons each of PSLV CA. PSLV DL uses 2, and PSLV QL uses 4. Strap-ons are not used in the core version. This isn't the core version. HTPV is the fuel. HTPV is a genuinely, I mean, it's an older hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene. So it's been around for a little bit. So it's a butadiene terminated hydroxyl functional group. It blah 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 polyurethane polymers. It's a translucent liquid with a color similar to wax paper and a viscosity similar to corn syrup. It's a mixture rather than a pure compound. So it's a mixed fuel and oxidizer. Yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways it can. It binds an oxidating agent, fuel, and other ingredients into a solid but elastic mass. In most composite propellant systems, the cured polyethylene acts as a fuel in such mixtures. For example, HTPB is used in the Japanese rocket launchers and the Indian. You can add different oxidizers. You can add different binders and different fuels. Most of them have some aluminum powder, so ammonium perchlorate, all that kind of stuff. So, and again, it's been relatively good fuel. So here's a little bit about the launch vehicle. We're not going to read a ton about that, but that's pretty much what we got from them. I think we have seen this personally with the moon mission. But I could be wrong. I believe we've seen an Indian rocket before during the moon mission. So we'll take you over to their YouTube page and we'll watch live, see what they got.
Stations, the mission director, Dr. M. Jaykumar, authorizes the launch.
This one has
Vehicle director then
two
initiates the
smaller
automatic launch
strap-ons
sequence
and the two
14
larger
minutes before
strap-ons
T0, which is a capsule
on
of
each
very
side.
essential checks to verify the systems of launch vehicle.
14 minutes.
Very close to the scheduled launch time, control is passed on to the onboard computers.
यह मिशन पूर्वी दिशा का मिशन है, इसलिए हमारे शार, पोर्ट ब्लेयर, ब्रूने और बायक्स स्थित रडार स्टेशंस इस यान पर निरंतर अपनी नजर बनाए रखेंगे। मुख्य उपग्रह के प्रमोशन के पश्चात कक्षा की ऊंचाई 650 किलोमीटर से घटाकर 350 किलोमीटर तक लाई जाएगी। ऐसा चतुर्थ चरण को पुनः प्रज्वलित किया जाएगा। हम इसे सेकंड ऑर्बिट के नाम से जानते हैं। इस दौरान त्रिवेंद्रम तथा शार स्थित रडार स्टेशंस भली भांति हमारे यान को ट्रैक करेंगे। PSLV C-58 पूर्णतः सज्ज है अपने मिशन को पूरा करने के लिए।
Again, I have no idea what they're saying.
श्रीहरिकोटा में भारी संख्या में दर्शक उपलब्ध हैं।
The PSLV C-58 rocket standing majestically at the first launch pad. Secretary DOS and Chairman.
PS4 activation completed.
So there's another view from the other side.
एक संक्षिप्त PSLV C-58 का इंटीग्रेशन वीडियो।
Oh, I just missed the count. So this is India's first foray into X-ray astronomy. So X-rays are different emissions of light that you can get different things. So the Indian Space Research Organization describes XPoSat as the first dedicated scientific satellite from ISRO to carry out research in space-based polarization measurements of X-ray emissions from celestial sources. So we can learn a lot about star formation or radiation or different things with these X-ray emissions. The agency said the aim of the Orbital Observatory is to learn more about the degree and angle of polarization in hopes to better understand the emission from things like neutron stars, pulsar wind nebulae, black holes, and much more. The mission is designed to last 5 years, during which they'll study about 50 so-called cosmic sources through the principle of particle acceleration called Thomson scattering. That's a whole other thing we're not going to get into right now. To gather this data, XPoSat uses its first two primary instruments, Pollux and the X-ray Polarimeter, to make observations in the 80 to 30 kiloelectron volts energy band, and the XSPECT, or X-ray spectroscopy and timing tool, designed to provide long-term monitoring of spectral state changes in continuum emission, changes in their flux and profile, simultaneous long-term temporal monitoring of soft X-ray emissions in the X-ray energy range of 0.8 to 0.15 kiloelectron volts. The XPoSat is built on the Indian MIDI satellite IMS-2 bus, a 400 kilo spacecraft that can house payloads up to about 200 kilos. So POEM-3 is going to be the other payload that's going to be on this, and that holds 10 different payloads or experiments. The Radiation Shielding Experimental Module, or the RSEM, the Women Engineered Satellite, or the WESAT, BeliefSat 0, Green Impulse Transmitter, or GETA, launching expeditions for aspiring technologies, a technology demonstration from LEAP TD, Rudra 0.3 HPGP, ARCA 200 Dusk Experiment, Fuel Cell Power Systems, or FCPS, and a Psi-based high energy cell. So it's SI. So, yeah, the mission picks up after India closed out a historically successful year for its space program. Fourth nation in the world to achieve a soft landing on the surface of the moon. ISRO also launched the IDITA L1 Solar Observatory, as well as tested crew escape system for its first astronaut mission, dubbed Gaganyaan, which is expected to launch in either 24 or 25. So that's kind of the basis for what the mission is that we have coming up. Like I said, I like all space programs and think that just about anything's great. So we'll go back and check up on them again. We're about T-minus 8 minutes from launch.
XPoSat को भी पेलोड एडेप्टर के साथ चतुर्थ चरण के ऊपर में समायोजित किया जा रहा है.
So apparently, so that's the satellite bus, and they're gonna place the payload on top of that.
10 नित भारों को
and that's
चतुर्थ चरण
fairing.
के साथ समायोजित कर दिया गया. इस समायोजन को मोबाइल सर्विस टावर पर लाकर PSLV रॉकेट के साथ समायोजित किया जा रहा है. यह ऊष्मा कवच हीट शील्ड.
Oh, so there's the fairing. So they put a double fairing on it. Huh.
यहाँ से परीक्षण शुरू होते हैं और परीक्षण पूर्ण होने के पश्चात प्रमोशन की स्थितियां प्राप्त की जाती हैं और प्रमोशन किया जाता है.
Again, I have no idea what they're saying. It's a fairly large rocket. 44 meters is pretty big.
Studying of celestial objects unveils several mysteries.
T-minus 7 minutes to launch.
ISRO had launched first dedicated Indian astronomy mission called AstroSat, aimed at studying celestial sources in X-ray, optical, and ultraviolet spectral bands simultaneously. One of its objectives was to detect new briefly bright X-ray sources in the sky. While the AstroSat is still healthy and its payloads are continuing to provide valuable scientific data, XPoSat is a step ahead in the study. It is expected to unravel some extreme phenomena. The astronomy community is particularly enthused about the prospect of systematic exploration into the polarization of X-rays emitted from astronomical sources. This aspect of study is the
I
latest
can't help you, Dog
emergence
Mama.
in
I have no idea what they're saying.
observational astronomy. Earlier tools included imaging,
No
studying the
idea.
fluctuations of light from source,
I know what
and
she's saying.
spectroscopy, which is basically a study of spectrum of electromagnetic radiation emanating from celestial bodies. Earlier observations could reveal chemical composition, temperature, distance, velocity, and luminosity. Analyzing X-ray polarization signature enables measurement of deeper insights through manifestation of processes generating these X-rays having distinct signatures within appropriate energy bands, depending on the involved energetics. The XPoSat mission by ISRO is specifically designed to investigate such X-ray polarization signatures emanating from bright X-ray sources. The primary payload, polarimeter instrument in the X-rays or POLIX, operates to measure polarimetry parameters in the medium X-ray energy range of 8 to 30 kiloelectron volts photon. The first payload for this energy band.
I think there's a
Collimator plays
T-4.
a crucial role to ensure that only one bright source is within the field of view for most observations. The second payload, XPECT, X-ray spectroscopy and timing instrument.
So again, I have no idea what they're. I mean, I just said basically everything that's going on there. I think it's interesting with their launch setup. One, they have pretty much a mock of the VAB, which is the American version of the vehicle assembly building, which is just a very tall building, which they stack and manufacture the rocket in, and that's that blue building that you can see behind. And it looks like there's some kind of track or system to bring it to the launch pad. So, can't see it from that angle, but they also don't seem to have much of a strong back or anything like that. So it's cool to see some of the parallels.
लगभग 23 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई प्राप्त कर लेने पर स्ट्रैप-ऑन के कार्यकाल समाप्त हो जाएंगे और इसे यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा। कोर बूस्टर S139 बूस्टर प्रज्वलित रहकर कुछ 110 सेकंड तक प्रज्वलित रहकर यान को 57 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई प्रदान करेगा तथा 1.62 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड की सापेक्ष गति प्रथम चरण किया जाएगा और प्रथम चरण को यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा। द्वितीय चरण 152 सेकंड तक प्रज्वलित रहेगा और इस दौरान यान क्लोज लूप गाइडेंस के अंतर्गत चला जाएगा और इसी दौरान ऊष्मा कवच को भी यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा।
So you can see it a little bit better there. There's tracks that actually, it looks like that whole launch pad comes out with the rocket.
पृथक कर दिया जाएगा और इसके पृथकन के 1
Minus 3
सेकंड के
minutes.
पश्चात ही तृतीय चरण जो कि उच्च निष्पादन वाला XPS-3 चरण है, ठोस नोदक पर आधारित चरण, इसका प्रज्वलन शुरू हो जाएगा। तृतीय चरण का प्रज्वलन काल 123 सेकंड का होगा और इस समय यान 206.8 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई तथा 7.23 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड की सापेक्ष गति प्राप्त कर चुका होगा। तृतीय चरण के कार्यकाल के पश्चात तृतीय चरण तथा चतुर्थ चरण सम्मिलित होकर कोस्ट फेज की शुरुआत करेंगे। इस
They're
दौरान
pretty
कोई भी
calm,
प्रज्वलन
they're
नहीं
pretty
हो रहा
composed
होगा
and confident.
और यह कोस्ट फेज
There it is. There's a good picture of it.
तक जारी रहेगा।
You can see that building in this background here. It appears to be their assembly building. It has some big doors, and it looks like there's tracks that actually just. It looks like the building actually moves more than the rocket. But it appears that the building just kind of moves back into position for the rocket to launch. So pretty cool way of doing things.
और यह वह अंतिम चरण है जो XPoSat उपग्रह को निर्धारित
Oops, stop it.
We are very close to the launch, and let me quickly run you through the flight events. About the nominal flight timelines for the PSLV C58 XPoSat mission. At T0, which is scheduled at 9 hours 10 minutes, the first stage PS1 ignites and followed by the ignition of the two strap-on motors 400 milliseconds later. The strap-ons continue to burn for 70 seconds, after which they are separated from the ongoing launch vehicle. The PS1 stage, that is the core S139, separates 109 seconds into the flight. By this time, the launch
Wow.
vehicle would have
That's a
gained
long
an
burn.
altitude of 57 kilometers and acquired a relative velocity of 1.6 kilometers per second.
Seconds. All sub sum.
The stage
Minus 50
2
seconds.
ignites
All sequences
after
sum.
PS1, continues to
T
burn
minus
for
50.
152 seconds.
Go ISRO.
Operational time for PS3 is 124 seconds.
VHPP open.
PS4 will operate for 247 seconds.
Hey, Kaiser.
Then the injection parameters will
Minus
be
30
achieved.
seconds.
T minus 30.
Real-time programs activated.
Minus 25 seconds. VSPP opened. Minus 20 seconds.
Hey, Queen.
Minus 15 seconds.
प्रमोशन से 15 सेकंड की दूरी पर
T minus 10 seconds.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Wow. That jumped off the pad.
Lift off normal.
Bright morning of the New Year's Day made brighter by a majestic liftoff.
seconds.
PSLV-C58 carrying India's X-ray Polarimeter Satellite towards its destination.
Due to tracking.
जी हाँ, इस वर्ष का प्रथम प्रमोशन
Plus 20 seconds.
श्रीहरिकोटा के प्रथम प्रमोशन मंच से PSLV C58 का हमने सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन देखा और यह अपनी उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर निरंतर बढ़ता हुआ प्रथम चरण का निष्पादन पूरी तरह सामान्य.
Nominal thrusting by PS1 stage. Nominal burn time for the strap-ons is 70 seconds and the core motor for 109 seconds.
409 seconds for a
इस समय
solid
यान
booster is
अपने
really...
अधिकतम दाब से गुजरता हुआ प्रथम चरण का कुल प्रज्वलन काल 110 सेकंड का होगा.
So again, these are not liquid fueled rockets. They are
SHAR
polymer
tracking station currently tracking the
rockets.
flight.
So solid boosters. They're not liquid rockets like SpaceX. We could see good separation.
को यान से पृथक कर दिया गया है तथा कोर बूस्टर अभी भी प्रज्वलित है.
Presently, the core S139 motor alone thrusting. The strap-ons have been separated.
Normal.
This stage will carry the rocket to 57 kilometers altitude and add 1.6 kilometers per second as a relative velocity.
इस घटनाक्रम पे अगला है प्रथम चरण का पृथकन तथा द्वितीय चरण का प्रज्वलन.
Hey, Rapper.
First stage separated. Second stage engine started. Closed loop guidance initiated.
जी हाँ, इसकी पुष्टि हो चुकी है. प्रथम चरण को सफलतापूर्वक यान से पृथक किया गया है और द्वितीय चरण का प्रज्वलन शुरू हो चुका है.
There is a confirmation from the Range Operations Director that the second stage has commenced its operation.
Second stage performance normal.
And as the altitude right now is almost at the verge of the dense atmosphere, closed loop guidance has been initiated. The next flight event is eagerly awaited. The next flight event is payload fairing separation.
So once it gets out of the density of the atmosphere, they'll actually separate that
द्वितीय चरण
fairing.
का निष्पादन सामान्य है. इसका कार्यकाल 152 सेकंड का होगा और इस दौरान यह कुल 800 किलोन्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न कर यान को उद्दिष्ट दिशा की ओर ले जाता है.
There we go.
Plus 3
इसकी
minutes.
पुष्टि हो चुकी है. ऊष्मा कवच को यान से पृथक कर दिया गया है.
Second stage performance normal.
There's
So
a
none of this is
confirmation of
recoverable.
payload
It's
fairing
always
separation
it's
and
all
a nominal
expended.
thrusting by the second stage of PSLV.
Hey, Linda.
द्वितीय चरण तरल नोदक पर आधारित चरण है. इसमें UDMH और N2O4 को ईंधन की तरह इस्तेमाल किया जाता है. वर्तमान में विकास इंजन नामक इस द्वितीय चरण के इंजन द्वारा प्रणोद उत्पन्न किया जा रहा है.
Time versus relative velocity. Time versus...
By the time PS2 completes its operation, the altitude of the launch vehicle will be 161 kilometers and relative velocity of 4.5 kilometers per second. Current altitude close to 150 kilometers.
Second stage performance normal.
Plus 4 minutes.
यान पूरी तरह अपेक्षित पथ का अनुकरण करता हुआ
SHAR tracking
So
station
just an idea, it's
continues
going
to
about
track.
15,000 kilometers per hour
Second stage
right now.
separated, third stage ignited.
द्वितीय चरण को सफलतापूर्वक पृथक कर दिया गया है तथा ठोस नोदक वाले तृतीय चरण का प्रज्वलन शुरू हो चुका है.
Third stage performance normal.
The performance of third stage is reported to be nominal.
I'll tell you in just a second,
The
Shenny.
PS3 stage based on this HTPB based solid propellant. It carries 7.6 tons of propellant.
यान की ऊंचाई निरंतर बढ़ती हुई
Plus 5
वर्तमान में
minutes.
यह 170 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई प्राप्त कर चुका है तथा सापेक्ष गति 5 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड. तृतीय चरण HPS-3 हाई परफॉर्मेंस थर्ड स्टेज कुल 240 किलो न्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न कर रहा है और यान को उद्दिष्ट दिशा की ओर ले जा रहा है.
SHAR and Port Blair tracking
Now we're about
stations are currently tracking the
19,360 miles per hour, or
trajectory.
Stage
kilometers per hour,
performance
excuse me.
normal.
During the operation of PS3, the rocket gains an altitude of 45 kilometers. Relative velocity increases from 4.5 kilometers per second to 7.2 kilometers per second.
तृतीय चरण में कुल 7.66 टन का प्रणोद होता है और इसका कार्यकाल 123 सेकंड का होगा.
So they're at the, I mean, they're in space technically, 181 or 189 statute kilometers. So
कोस्टिंग फेज शुरू हो चुका होगा.
technically in the Kármán line.
सभी दर्शकगण यहाँ उत्साहित इस मिशन के सफलता के लिए अब कुछ ही क्षणों में हम देखेंगे तृतीय चरण.
Third stage action completed.
तृतीय चरण का कार्यकाल समाप्त हो चुका है और इसके पश्चात
Vehicle
ही
in combined hosting for approximately 200 seconds.
इसके साथ ही तृतीय तथा चतुर्थ चरण सम्मिलित होकर कोस्टिंग फेज जारी है.
There's a confirmation of expected performance by the PS3 stage, and currently the thrust has been cut off, but the vehicle is coasting with the PS3 still intact. The separation of PS3 has not yet taken place.
Vehicle performance normal.
यह कोस्टिंग फेज 200 सेकंड्स तक जारी रहेगा. उसके पश्चात तृतीय चरण को यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा.
The combined coasting continues for 200 seconds. Thereafter, the separation of PS3 takes place, but PS4 continues to coast for another 400 seconds.
Okay, so I'm going to turn them way down just for a second.
During the coasting phase of flight, the relative velocity reduces from 7.2 kilometers per second to 6.7 kilometers per second, and as a result, close to 400 kilometers.
Okay, so we're going to turn them way down just for a second. So this mission is 10 specific satellites or
XPoSat
scientific experiments for the Indian Space Research Organization. It also has an X-ray satellite to study various things throughout our universe using X-ray spectrometry. Yeah, that word. It's a little hot. Like we're at about 25,920 kilometers per second or per hour at this point. For an orbit of 297, but they're gonna, I think they overshoot and then come back down. because we should be right in that 25,000 for that high of an orbit. So we should come down. It should slow down about 800 kilometers per hour. But that could be with this. Now, this is a very rudimentary rocket compared to what we see with SpaceX or even NASA or even ULA or any of the other providers, Firefly, blah, blah, blah. This is a very rudimentary rocket because they're all solid boosters. So this is, once it's lit, there's no throttling, there's no slowing it down, there's no changes. It's just light it and hope for the best. And it's worked for them. It's done pretty well for them, but there's no corrections in this. There's no relights, there's no throttling, there's no gimbaling, there's nothing. It's basically a solid propellant with an engine bell, and they just light it and let it go. Simplicity sometimes the best for space travel, because then there's nothing to mess up. As long as your ignition sequence works, as long as your fuels are mixed well, as long as all that goes well, then there really isn't much to mess up. Like they're truly just an engine bell and some solid propellant. So there's not the complexity of the parts and the cooling systems and the this and the that. It's really a rudimentary system, but it works. And again, they were successful in putting another payload up. So good on the Indian space program. The ISRO, another successful mission. They recently made it to the moon with one of their missions. So it's cool to see. It's cool to see yet again all the different ways that people do things, and all the different ways that we can get to space and really be able to explore it. Yeah, you're starting to see that relative velocity come down now. So it will slow to about probably in that right around that 25,000 kilometers per hour mark, and that should be a good orbital range for it as well. So perfect, good to hear.
Milestone to accomplish. It lowers to an orbit of 350
Hey Jude,
kilometers.
good to see you.
After XPoSat injection, this orbit will be at 9.6
so
degrees inclination, which is achieved.
Yeah, I think that's going to about wrap this one up.
Maneuvers are expected
First of what is going to be a busy 2024, both for this channel and for spaceflight. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 600 flights this year from different providers and different nations. So always stay tuned. If they go live, we will. We have several flights coming up. Most of them are already up, but people like SpaceX will have their flights in the interim that will just kind of come out of nowhere with their whenever they can get one up. So next up we have a Falcon 9 Starlink satellite going up on the 2nd. The 3rd we have Avsan 3, which is a Swedish satellite. January 8th we have Vulcan Centaur. January 17th we have the manned Axiom 3 mission on a Falcon 9. And then the 29th we have NG-20. There's also a ULA and a USSF mission in there. So January is going to be a really busy month, and it should be a really busy year for spaceflight. So thank you all for stopping by. I'm going to end the stream. Congratulations to the Indian Space Research Organization, and great work, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope to see you all back here for the next launch. Until then, take care and have a very happy and safe new year. Bye-bye, everybody.